Imagine if the real-life economy was as volatile and fragile as the Skyblock economy. One day you walk into a shop, and a loaf of bread is 29.7 coins. The next day, it doubles in price to almost 60 coins. And then the next day, it goes back down to 30 coins. Yeah, that'll be quite a lot to keep up with. Mere days after being in a phase of catastrophic hyperinflation, we're now facing quite drastic deflation. Recombobulators 2 days ago were up to 19 million. Now they're 11 million. Like, what is going on? Having said that, scrolls are just well and truly done for. Items like Warden Hearts, which were up to 320 mil, are now down to 240 mil. And overflux capacitors that were up to about 220 to 230 mil are now down to 167. Other items like Summoning Eyes, Stock of Stonks, and many more have seen a decrease in price, but nothing on the scale of the others. Items like a Necron handle is now down to less than 800 mil, which is roughly the same as prior to when the RNG meter was fixed and increased in price 3 to 400 mil. Now in 7 hours and 20 minutes when this video is being recorded, Paul will be the mayor. So in theory, items like scrolls, handles, and recombobulators will surely be dropped more frequently because more people will be doing dungeons. I honestly can't work out the price of the recombobulator because it's dropped so much. My best guess would be so many people who had invested in it, seen that it's dropping in price and tried basically to panic sell, leading to the price basically crashing. Now it's crazy to think that they're cheap when they're at 11 million coins, but at the same time, as you can see on the 15th, only 4 days ago, they were up to 17 mil, and they actually did go up to 19 mil, but for some reason it just doesn't show in this data. Don't get me wrong, 11 mil for a recombobulator is still extortionate. But what does all of this mean? Well, funnily enough, when prices are increasing rapidly in a ridiculous bout of inflation like we had, of course it's not rocket science that if you just keep your coins in cash, then you're essentially going to lose money. The value of your money is going to decrease relative to everything else. But of course, if prices reduce and decline, it's the exact opposite. You're better off having your coins invested just in cash, because in theory all of the items are getting less valuable. So best case scenario, you invested right at the start of when everything started to go crazy in price, you sold right at the peak, and then you just did nothing with the coins, because at this point you'd be best off. Before we go any further, you should subscribe to the channel, become part of the 24%, there's no reason not to. Also, you should join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of every single video. Now, what I will say is that items like recombobulators, items like Necron handles, anything that you can pretty much drop from dungeons is probably eventually gonna rise steadily anyway. At the end of the day, the RNG meter was fixed recently, which means these sort of drops will be less frequent. Not only that, it's a disincentive for people to play dungeons, therefore even further decreasing the amount of these items in circulation. However, because of the ridiculously high price, at the moment or in the last couple of days there's still been a massive incentive to do dungeons because there's so much profit to be made. And like I said before, with Paul being mayor relatively soon, this is only going to be heightened. So it wouldn't surprise me if these recombobulators drop even further. But after Paul, it's only logical that they increase again. If you look back at the graphs over the past couple of years, there's always trends. And when Paul is in power, or when Paul is the mayor, items that you obtain from dungeons during Paul are always cheaper, and then after Paul isn't mayor and somebody else is, they always gradually increase back to the regular price. But that's only going to be heightened by even less people playing dungeons because of the RNG meter fix. Something else I would say is people that have been holding off buying recombobulators and other items obtainable from dungeons because of the high price now have an incentive to buy them. They're way cheaper than they were a couple of days ago. People wanting to recombobulate the talismans now only have to spend, let's say, about 60 to 70% of what they would have had to spend a couple of days ago. Which means, once again, it's only logical that more of these items are actually going to be bought. Therefore, there's going to be less supply, increasing the price. Realistically, it's all speculation, but at this point, I just don't even know what to do. I don't know whether to try and invest because I feel like prices are pretty low at the moment. But at the same time, they're not really low, they're still high. Things like recombobulators at 11 mil isn't low. It's honestly quite confusing. Now, I saw a few people saying that inflation isn't an issue, and asking the question of, well, why would the admins try to change something to decrease inflation? And on face value, that's a good point, and it is true. Inflation isn't unusual. If you take 50 million coins and compare it to what it can buy today compared to the start of Skyblock, the difference is absolutely drastic. That in itself is inflation. The issue arose when items were increasing like 20, 30, 40% overnight, and that was consistent. It isn't inherently bad if you've invested in the right things or if you have the right assets, but it's not great really for the economy. It's not stable. My point is this. Things like, I mean, at the moment, the recombobulations are almost a currency. Everyone's eyes are on recoms because of how ridiculously high they went. But to say that they've now dropped so much in such a little period of time, it really does say a lot about the state of the economy. It's a mess. So now you may ask, well, what should I do? Should I invest? Should I not invest? What should I do with my coins at this point? And I'd say, first of all, do your own research. And I don't think items are going to go up to the price that they peaked at a few days ago for a long time. But unless there's any curveballs, it makes logical sense that dungeon items are going to gradually increase in price again. You see, the strange thing is items like a Diamante's handle is still continue to rise and not decrease. The same goes for the Wither Catalyst, and many other, let's say, lower tier drops. I honestly think the massive decrease in price is mainly down to people who invested in a lot of recombobulators, selling them as they see other people selling them, therefore forcing the price down even more. And also probably an influx of people playing dungeons because they realise how much money they can actually make just from recoms. At one point, recoms were almost 15 million coins profit. Don't get me wrong, there's still, what, like 6-7 million coins profit, which is still really good, but almost 15 mil profit just from one recom is insanity. Now let's talk about booster cookies. They've dropped a little bit too, but that only makes sense. If you were going to buy Skyblock gems, you would have done it when they were almost 10 mil. 10 mil per cookie is absolutely ridiculously expensive. It's so expensive, and it makes buying gems so much more worth it. So what I think has happened is a lot of people have realised how expensive cookies are and thought, if I'm going to buy gems, this is the time to do it. They've gone ahead and done it, therefore there's more booster cookies on the market, therefore decreasing the value. Anyway, that's what's going on at the moment. In a nutshell, absolute insanity. Overnight, I think my net worth decreased about 1.5 billion because of how much everything dropped. Insane. Anyway, let me know what you think of the whole situation in the comments. I think that's going to be the end of the video for today, so if you did enjoy, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.